Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to All About Healing, and I'm your host, Emily Francis. And we're on to the Emily's Energy Corner. Today's guest was Dawson Church, and he has a new book out called Mind to Matter. It's published through Hay House. It's going to be available everywhere that books are sold, and it just came out, actually. It's a brand new release, so go look for it. And also, he has a show on healthy life as well called High Energy Health. So make sure that you tune in to both of us. Don't leave me, but go over there too. And thank you for being here. So I want to talk about, last week I talked about that I was going to go to the INATS International New Age Trade Show, and I made big promises that I would post all these videos and keep everybody abreast of my trip, and I totally didn't, because I was just having the best time and being so present, and I just didn't bring the phone. I just loved it and embraced it, and it was awesome. And I want to talk about the many different avenues that it takes to heal and to get into that trauma. And I know that we always talk about trauma, but everybody has it. So while I love to talk about joy also, and that joy and bliss and all those amazing things live in your muscles, they live in the tissue and the cellular memory, so does trauma. And it's really neat. The show that I just did with Dawson, he talked about EFT, which is Emotional Freedom Technique. It's a tapping technique. And I was very honest that I have underestimated the power of EFT. Even though it's included in my own book, The Body Heals Itself, I interviewed somebody else and I had them write the whole section on it because I don't know enough about it. So it's not that I've underestimated it per se, it's that I've never been to a session with EFT. But it reminded me, when he was talking about it, it reminded me of EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing or reprogramming. And you have to go to a therapist who's very well trained in that. And it takes you into your PTSD trauma places in your mind. And Dawson was saying that they actually did research of EFT versus EMDR, and they clinically showed to have similar, if not the same, results into your mind and your psyche. And for me, EMDR therapy was really profound, and I really appreciate that I got to do it. It was magical and effective. And I go to a naturopath now, and we do something called NAET, which is, it was originally, we went there for food sensitivities. It's called Nambrujapad's Allergy Elimination Technique. And if you Google it, it will come up and say Quack Watch. It'll say, you know, this is a bunch of crap, it's a bunch of hooey. But I have to tell you, when you go and experience it for yourself, even though it looks like it doesn't work, when you're the one experiencing it, your whole body sort of reprograms itself. Like my doctor of naturopathy, he says that it's like the body being a computer system, and through the spine and through the central nervous system, you are rebooting your internal computer system. And I believe that, because not only did it take away any food sensitivities for me and my children, but it also completely cleared the last parts of what was remaining of my years of anxiety and panic. And I've done so much work, including EMDR. I have done so much work around my anxiety that I got to a place where it was really functional, and so I thought, you know what, you always kind of deal with it, you just stay ahead of it. It's kind of like being an alcoholic. It's always there, but you know how to manage it, but it's always going to be a lifelong part of your life. And after the NAET, I have to say, I keep wondering when it's going to come back, because I feel so good, and I feel so free, and I feel so healthy in my mind and my body, and it's bizarre almost, which it shouldn't be. It's just hard for us to accept that good things have happened and that we get to a resting place and a peaceful place in our bodies and our mind. But that place to get to, whether you choose EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, EMDR, whether you choose hypnotherapy, whether you choose NAET, whether you choose just traditional counseling, whether you choose Reiki or healing touch or whatever, emotional release, craniosacral therapy, there are so many magnificent therapies out there. And my caveat is, don't just choose one. That's the thing that Dawson and I talked about too. You're not stuck having to choose one particular route to your healing. There are such a massive amount of healing in the world available to you. And I know it's hard because, you know, we don't have unlimited funds and access, and that was really difficult because when I was going through my worst parts, I had insurance that my copay was more than half the people would have just charged for cash. It was so hard to justify doing this healing when you're broke. And now I'm a little bit different because I'm lucky that I'm a body worker, because in a lot of ways, if I wanted to, I could issue a trade. Would you trade your work for mine? And I've earned the chops to be able to do that too, so that's been nice. But there is always a way, because when I was just flat broke, I still somehow managed to find my way to the therapy that I needed to get me through. But imagine for just a moment, wherever you are in your life, if you are struggling, which it seems that so many of us are, if you are struggling, imagine getting to that center point where you're not bogged down with it all the time, where it doesn't, it almost became like my best friend, having that fear and panic all the time because I got so used to living with it that I felt really naked and vulnerable trying to live without it. So every time that I would feel better or feel this release or feel freedom, I would reel it back in because I don't know how to live without that panic. And now I'm really digging just living without that panic. And it's been a while. It's been long enough for me to say that I live without it. And it's been over a few years now, but especially the last year to 2 years since I started doing the NAT. And I stay ahead of it still, just to make sure that I'm clear and I'm doing good. Because again, these things, they're around because life is happening. You are alive. And I hope that you want to be alive because there's a lot of stuff happening around us, especially right now. All these children being ripped away from their parents, and it's heartbreaking, and it's enough to, yesterday I wanted to get in the car and drive to Texas, but I knew that the only thing I want to do is put my hands on those children and put them in my arms and rub their little backs and let them cry and hold them. And guess what? I can't because they're not going to let me in. So you have to figure out ways that you can help that make your soul feel comfortable and make it okay for you to go to sleep at night. That's the same thing internally with whatever's going on in your personal life right now. Whatever things you can't have access into, whatever things you can't really control, then you got to backtrack and figure out every level of what you can. What are the things that I can do to feel good today in my life? What are the things that can help me to heal? Who can I go see? If you need a massage but you are broke or whatever it is, there are massage schools. Man, there are so many massage schools these days. They're practically on every corner. And you can go to the clinic. They have students there. They charge $25 to $35 for an hour massage. The trade is that you have to be able to let them bring a teacher in and they help guide the massage therapist. But who cares? Wouldn't you rather have that anyway? Because then you're in a safe place and nobody's going to do anything inappropriate. Not that any student would, I hope. Not that any professional would, but that's, we've heard opposite of that. So while I love the profession deeply and profoundly and think it's some of the most sacred work in the world, I am also well aware that not everybody feels the way and the level that I do about what it means to place your hands on somebody. And I do wish that I could put my hands on those children. But for now, that's not what I can do, but I can make a difference where I can. And in my own internal healing, you have to have that same thought. Because a lot of times, what's been happening for a lot of people is that we become so sensitive. So it's two different ways. You have such sensitive people that it eats you alive and it swallows you whole and you don't know how to function in the world because there's so much bad stuff happening. And then you become so sensitive and so empathic to it all that you don't know how to even function. So you have to learn that middle still point. Again, the still point. Me with my mind and my body, my thoughts and my behavior patterns. And it's the same thing. What are the things that you can control and what are the things that you can't help so you can make a difference in some other area? Because I promise you, you can volunteer. You can use that phone. I know people are on their cell phones all day long. You could certainly use those phones to volunteer and to do something to make a difference because it matters to you. It matters in your soul. It matters in what you're doing and in your karmic adventure in this life. And then there's that other side that has become so desensitized that they've lost that level of humanity. And this is all, I'm talking globally, but it's still internal. This is all about you and your body and your healing as well. You can apply it to everything. Have you become totally desensitized where you don't feel your body signals, where you don't feel when you're in distress or when the body's out of balance, when your soul is screaming to you that something is off and you need to pay attention to it? Or, same thing globally, have you become so desensitized? Do you make excuses to defend your side and say, we're the right ones? There's no right. We are a human race and a human existence, and you are a human, you are a soul inside your body, and you deserve to heal. And that's the message for today. And I hope that it rings home, and I hope you go and look for somebody, EFT, EMDR, NAET, Reiki, whatever it is. Make that change today. You deserve it. You guys, I'll see you back here next Wednesday. You're listening to All About Healing. Have a great week. Make it a great week. Bye-bye.